And the announcements continue. We first had the 50 over 50 list, the second annual, and now this. Huma Abedin is teaming up with Know Your Value and will serve as the vice chair with me on the Forbes 3050 International Women's Day Summit in Abu Dhabi in March. Huma played an integral role at our last 3050 Summit, a global event that gathered generations of women from both the Forbes 30 under 30 list and our Forbes 50 over 50 lists. Huma was a speaker, a moderator, and presented Hillary Clinton with our International Women's Day Lifetime Achievement Award. And Huma joins us now. Her best-selling book, Both and: A Life in Many Worlds, was released in paperback earlier this week. We're also excited to announce that she is joining the MSNBC and Morning Joe family. You're with us here, and we're so happy to have you, and I'm so excited about this year's summit.
I can't tell you how excited I am to be part of Know Your Value, part of this summit. And as you know, I've been traveling for the last year talking about my book, and I was so moved and struck by that experience in Abu Dhabi, and I'm thrilled about this list. And what I love about the 50 over 50 list is that there are so many women we've heard of, like Bobbi Brown and like Huda Kotb, who you spoke to, and Dolores Huerta, but I love that we're shining a light on women you've never heard of who are doing extraordinary work that should be lifted up.
And so talented from so many generations, well above 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. And what happens in Abu Dhabi is that we get the 30 under 30 lists. We bring in luminaries like Hillary Clinton, and it is just like this massive international mentoring event. And it's so great that you're going to be vice chairing it, because that means you'll be back and we'll have a great time there. I want to talk about your book, which is now out in paperback. It's a remarkable book. It chronicles your life traveling the world with the Clintons, your life as a little girl, and also really painful moments in your life as well that you share. And I'm curious how you have evolved given the reaction you've gotten to the book since it has initially come out.
You know, I have my favorite events are events at universities and talking to young people and talking to women especially. And the number of people who come to me and say, well, how did you know everything was going to be okay? How did you know you'd be successful in life? And I have spent the better part of the last year saying to them, you know, consider doing the thing that scares you the most. I certainly did. Wrote my book, told my story. And if the 2022 version of me could talk to the 2016 version of me, she would not believe that life could be so good.
The things that scare you and that seem so unbelievably traumatic, you find yourself, you're not just being victorious over those moments, but adding them to your bank of experiences that make you stronger. Joe wants to jump in. Joe?
Yeah, Huma, first of all, congratulations and welcome. It's so exciting to have you here with us, and it was great actually in the Abu Dhabi event. I've got to tell you that Mika, of course, was she just hated not being there, and the fact that you were there though, and it worked so seamlessly. I thought it was just an extraordinary of what you did. Also, an extraordinary event. I am curious because there's a reason why Mika wanted to go to Abu Dhabi. There's a reason why she wanted to talk about women's rights in the Gulf region and in the Middle East, and it's because things are changing there. And let's talk about Iran. What an extraordinary uprising. These aren't women who are activists following a leader. We're seeing images of middle school girls rising up against Iranian authorities. What's happening, and what does that mean to you?
Well, for me, I mean, I watched with fury, just like the rest of the world, when Mahsa Amini died after being in police custody. And to me, this uprising, I see, you know, I don't think these are women, and it is a women's led activist, but it's not that women are protesting the hijab law, this mandatory law where you have to cover. They're protesting this way of life. They are saying enough is enough. And so this idea of being in the streets, you know, I remember being a teenage girl having to worry about the religious police, seeing if I was covered enough and ensuring that my legs were covered and my hair was covered. And so the fact that these teenage girls, when you're raised consciously and subconsciously in this world where you think you have to cover yourself to free yourself, to me, the courage that takes, but how fed up they are. I mean, you know, Iranian women have been protesting the hijab law in one way or another for the last 43 years. But think about the fact that 65% of university graduates are women in Iran, 70% of STEM graduates are women. If these women had the freedom to just express and to be, imagine how much greater this country could be. So for me, I see this as, you know, a protest. It's the Islamic Republic versus the citizens of Iran. And I think the more we can lift up what they're doing, I think the more violence and the protests that we see in the streets, the more we need to shine a light on this issue.
Huma Abedin, author of Both And, an amazing book, now out in paperback and now part of the MSNBC family. Huma is also now vice chair of the 2023 3050 International Women's Day Summit in Abu Dhabi. See you there and many times before right here on Morning Joe. Thank you so much.